Hey, what's going on,
Everyone.
everybody?
I know you're not in your van right now either. And like,
Fake van life. And I saw my van builder was here. I'm not as cool as you. I didn't build my own van.
when did you have your van built out?
All right, so I bought the van in 2019, and I had it built out by Sat Sang Van Works that's in here right now. Hi, Mike, if you're here. I saw you pop up. And yeah, so I've been in the van full time since like 2019.
It's a long time.
I know,
So
right? I copied you. I got you beat by 1 year.
I mean, when in 2019? I
I
mean,
know.
uh,
Well, the van was getting built, and then I went back to check on it a few times. So, like, officially, I guess I got in there, like, kind of early 2020.
okay. Well, I was also early 2020, and I was sleeping in my car in 2019 at some point. So do I almost beat you?
You
Like,
might have me beat,
um,
maybe.
um, no, it's it's not a competition. Everyone thinks van life is a competition. It's like, when like not being in a van right now, I'm very self-conscious over it, and people like find out because I'm like, you're a fake van lifer. We already had someone say like in the comments before you got in, like, how are you a real van lifer if you're not in a van? And I'm like, 3 days,
Right.
3 days.
I've been in the van for like 3 to 4 years. This is like a brief moment where I leave the van for a moment and go see my family, but I will be back to full-time van life early January here.
Did no one tell you the laws? If you say on social media you're a van lifer, you are never allowed to take a break. Not
Right.
a single. You walk into a home establishment, and even use those showers is against the law.
I know.
Um,
I saw people were roasting you. They're like, "Why are you out in the woods in the snow? You should be in your van."
they were right though. It was horrible. But yeah, so you had your van built out in late 2019-ish.
Yep. And it was like kind of finished like early 2020.
What made you decide to go for professional build over a self build, a DIY?
I'm just not. I'm not crafty, and I guess I'm not as brave as you are because I feel like if I would have built it myself, it would have caught on fire by now, and it just wouldn't have looked pretty the way it does.
Well, you could always have like the electrical system or the heating system done by someone else, like just those two parts. Like I had an electrician look over my stuff. Jesse Graver, he's great. He did a great job.
Right.
I did everything. I did all the electrical system. I did the fuse box, and then I like went to him and was like, "Can you look at this?" And then he fixed a few connections. Like I'm not even like he fixed a few things. Like I'm glad I did that.
Yeah.
So there's not many van builders or people who work on vans over here, especially like before like 2020 COVID, like the van life apocalypse. What is that a fair word to call it?
Oh
What is
yeah.
the word when
Oh yeah. Because it blew up. It blew up and it got really popular, and then it was like impossible to find a van that was a decent price and to have somebody build it and all that. It was like, you know, I don't know, just with everything that went on in that time, it was like everybody wanted to move to van life at that moment. So thankfully, I was already planning it for like years before that, and I already had it kind of like the groundwork laid out, so it was perfect. I got it done like right at the right time.
better pricing before COVID for sure.
Exactly.
Like wood prices. I was doing my build during COVID and I watched it go up because I planned it before COVID. So my budget was pre-COVID and then my spending was COVID. So
Oh, I get it. No, I hear you.
yeah. So you didn't want to DIY. If you ever had another van, would you ever DIY another van?
Actually, this is my second van, to be honest. Yeah.
Okay, so when did you have your first van? If you had this van you have right now, you got in
Oh, you're
20.
right. So then I could even add some more time to my thing. I know, right? Now I'm really winning the van life competition. Um, no, so I had a van, and I just bought it like completed. I did this musical tour. It's kind of crazy. I did this musical tour, like randomly, these people hit me up on YouTube, and one of the dudes actually sang like in a band with Elvis Presley for like 1,000 concerts. So
Dang.
casual, I know, like it's weird to be in a band still to me to say I've been in a band with somebody that was in a band with Elvis for like a long time.
That's
So yeah, so then I took all the money I made on that tour and I bought a van off of Craigslist. That was pretty awesome. It was a Sprinter. I think, what people say, I don't know how nerdy we're going to get here in this van life discussion, but so what they say is the Sprinter TN1. If you guys are true van lifers, you'll know that's the first version of the Sprinter, and they regard that version as the best engine that was ever built. They would run up to like 1,000,000 miles if they're well maintained. So it's kind of insane, 1,000,000 miles. But yeah, so I had one of those, and I had it for like literally like four-ish days, and then somebody crashed into the back of me, and they totaled it, completely totaled it, and I was loving it. I bought it. I flew out to California to get it, and I was headed back to Boston where I was living at that time. Somebody crashed into me and totaled it in Wyoming, and I was like so broken. I was just like, oh my God, I took like, my savings here, like borderline like my life savings, and I bought this van, and then immediately, it was just totaled. And then it was crazy. It was a crazy time because the lady, she tried to like literally lie. I had to get a lawyer, and she rear-ended me. So it's like, okay, if you rear-end somebody, like, I don't know how you're going to try to say it's the other person's fault, because it's like, obviously, like, I'm driving straight, I'm on the highway, and you come and smash into the back of me. But she tried to tell the police that I was like stopped in the middle of the highway. I'm like, like, I'm trying to get from California to Boston. Like, why would I be stopped in the middle of the highway in Wyoming? So it made no sense. But the police believed this lady. So it was kind of crazy. For like a month and a half, I was freaking out. Like, wow, like, this is not looking good. Like, I put all my money into this, and now, it's looking like it's just going to all fall apart, and I'm screwed. But then, thank God I had some good insurance. So I actually ended up tripling my money on that investment on that van. So then I took all that money and then went to Sat Sang Van Works, if you're still here, Mike. And I took that money and I bought a shell, and then I had it custom built, like way better than my original one, which the original one was pretty nice. But then I had it done even better, just like exactly cookie cutter the way I wanted to be, like everything I wanted. And I got real extra with it. Like, my van has literally everything, a nice apartment would have, like crazy stuff. Like, I got like reverse osmosis, like water filtration in there, and like, you're making jokes I saw about like a microwave and stuff like that. I actually have a microwave, and you asked me earlier today if I had an oven. It's cool. I have a microwave that actually doubles as an oven, so I can bake cookies like in my microwave. It's pretty crazy.
So apparently you're very bougie. So basically what you're saying,
Yeah,
start van life, buy a cheap vehicle, fake stop in the middle of the highway, get rear-ended. You get your
Oh
dream
my God.
with the microwave. And that's what I feel like I'm really missing in van life, is the microwave.
Pretty much. I think you would love having a microwave from what I hear.
Does it run off your battery?
It does. Yeah, I have probably like $5,000 to $6,000 worth of lithium in the back, and it charges from driving it off the alternator. I have like 520 maybe watts of solar, and I also have Sure Power, so I could plug it in.
Yeah, that's crazy. That is one
I
crazy
know,
story.
right? I can't make this stuff up. Yeah, it was nuts. But it all worked out, so
Yeah.
knock on wood, it's, I'm living my van life dreams right now.
People are like, oh, you're because like the usual, oh, like your trust fund kid comment, or you're like, oh no, actually.
I wish. Nope, I wish. My parents are very low middle class, and they don't help me, but I work a lot, so.
Someone said pressurized water and shower. So do you have a pressurized water system or shower?
I do. I have a really nice shower, and it's kind of crazy. My first iteration of my shower system, I might have been Jared Tucci that interviewed somebody where I got this idea. He interviewed somebody that had something crazy that blew my mind, and I did actually have a setup that was like this. So my first iteration of the van I'm still in, it's not like this anymore, but I had it where it was set up to be like a recirculating water filtration system. So I could essentially take a shower as long as I would want to. And I had a separate water system for that, where it would go through like a high powered UV light that kills like all bacteria and everything like that. And then it went through like another like type of reverse osmosis situation. And then the water would come back then through the shower again. So I could essentially take a shower for as long as I want. And there was a moment even where I set it up to be like a jacuzzi, like in my van. I had to sit crisscross applesauce, but I could sit in my van and had like one jet, and I could have like hot water come out and filter through, and I would just sit like crisscross applesauce in my little jacuzzi inside the van. It was awesome. I loved it. Yeah. I have maybe a picture of that somewhere deep in my feed.
That's, that's very crazy.
It was
That is
sick.
very.
Yeah. I pulled out all the stops. I wanted it to be nuts, you know, but I actually did away with that system. So now it's not like that anymore, but
So what how is it like now?
it's just regular now. Like if I just take a shower, the water just goes out of the van. That could be illegal as well. I'm not sure. Like I know you have a gray water system. So my first van and even this van had a gray water system, but I got rid of that. So now, like, let's say I take a shower or I wash dishes, the water just goes like from the tank to the outside. So there's
Gotcha. Yeah.
no like I had a situation where it was like flooding, like the gray water, like I wasn't checking it enough. And then like I would just like run into a situation where like, oh shit, the bottom of my van is now flooding, you know. So I just got sick of that. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not doing this gray water thing anymore. Just, you know, I want to do fresh water. And then if once the water's gone, it just falls out the bottom. And it's way better. I love it that way. It's so much better.
You have some, so you flooded your vehicle from
Oh
gray
yeah.
water?
Oh yeah. A couple of times. Yeah. Just because like I wasn't, you know, I didn't know the ropes of the van life and all that stuff at first. And I was getting used to it. But yeah, I just eventually got to a point where I went back to Sat Sang, my guy Mike in here. And I was like, you know what, just reset this water situation. So when I take a shower or wash dishes, the water just goes out. And yeah, I think that's the best way to do it. I mean, if I could go back and I was going to maybe do another van to do like the recirculating thing, I would get some heavier duty filtration. But in reality, I just think it's fine. Like it's easy enough to just get water and like just take a shower and now, you know, like you, I just have a gym membership. So I go to LA and I'll take a long shower and that's fine. I have a LA membership for everywhere.
And someone else does the water filtration. So nice. What is I have not actually really like seen like a tour of your van. So since we're not there, unfortunately, we're our fake van lifers today. Can you like what your van is like?
I mean, it's got everything. I mean, you posted a little snippet I saw on the Van Life account earlier, but it shows. I mean, it's got a shower in there. It's got the microwave with the dual oven. I've got two stoves actually. I have an electric stove and I have a propane stove. I got an enormous refrigerator with a freezer as well. I got a blender. I got a coffee maker. I got solar. I got like a 42-inch 4K TV. I got my Nintendo Switch in there so I could be playing Pokemon as well. I know you're a Pokemon fan.
I am. You're living in luxury though. I mean, I don't have any of that stuff pretty much. That's pretty crazy.
It's not bad. I honestly love it. Yeah. I mean, it's funny, you know, because I remember like the question, maybe people asked you this like when you were getting into it in the beginning, like, how long are you planning to do the van life thing? And I remember my first answer was like, I don't know, maybe like 3-ish years or something. We'll see. But now it's been, you know, we're going on 4 years now. And I'm just getting more and more used to it. I absolutely love it. You know, it just feels like, you know, as a musician, it's the key that really makes my life so comfy and just low, you know, just flexible and it's easy, you know, where it's just, I think most people when you're a musician, it's pretty tough, you know, like some of my friends, I don't know if they're in here, but I'm thinking of my friend Luke. He sings for like some A-level artists, like background and stuff, but he also has like a full-time job where he works that through the week and then he does gigs like on the weekend, you know, to make a living, to pay his rent for LA. You know, to live in LA is so freaking expensive, but I don't have to do that. So I've just been a full-time musician only for about 3 years now.
That's awesome. How has, besides not having to pay for rent, how has living in a van helped or changed like your career as a musician?
It's been literally like the key that's made everything kind of just move like exponentially, because before, you know, I was living a lot with friends, living on couches and just saving up. And I would always be like the guy, like, I'm sure like all my friends were probably sick of my shit. They're probably like, because I would just be like, the van, you know, like I'm saving up for the van. Once I get the van, it's all going to change, man. It's going to be different. And like my friends were probably all like, yeah, whatever. Like, you know, you're probably never going to do it. And then no, as soon as I got the van, I mean, I have it set up where there's like a full music studio in there. I think even in the video you saw, like I have a full size keyboard with weighted keys that can be plugged into MIDI, and then I can hook that up to my computer and my interface. And then I have a microphone that goes like Joe Rogan style, like from the roof, and I could pull it down. That way I'm not using it. So it's almost better than like any other situation like I've been in, where it's like, even like right now I'm at my parents' house and I have to set up like all my equipment and then, like tear it down, where it's like it takes a while and it's almost kind of annoying where it streamlines everything, where it's like all my stuff is always set up, and when I'm ready to use it, I pull it down and I could just push it back up out of my face immediately. So I'm super productive in there. I've been recording and just um putting out more music than I ever have at a faster rate, able to record and mix and do everything on my own in a way where, it's just very easy. And on top of that, just not having to work so much to pay rent like I was before. So yeah, it's been the key that, van life has been the reason that I feel like my life has now pushed me even faster into the direction I've wanted to go. And it's funny because I remember like looking back, like when I was originally thinking about van life, like, years before, like, man, this seems like this could really be such like an awesome opportunity to make things so much easier. And I'm like, I wonder if there's going to be a catch or something. And then like after having lived in it and been doing it, it's like, no, this really is like the way for me. It's so easy. And I feel like even just like my mental, space has been, better and more stable than I've ever been, just because it's so much easier to just do what I need to do and immediately get things done. And I'll be able to take like a gig, like I just played a show last weekend in San Francisco where, I'm based in LA, but it's like, if the money's right, I can just whip it right up to San Francisco, come back to LA. And I don't know if you have I know we both have a ProMaster, but I have the diesel version of the ProMaster. It's kind of a rare one.
Yeah, I don't have diesel.
Okay, so the diesel one, it's pretty neat. It has an enormous four-cylinder engine with a turbo. So like on highway, I have some pictures. I could prove it to anyone if they don't believe me, but I push on average like mid 30s per gallon, like 35 miles per gallon.
I get 16 miles per gallon.
Crazy. So diesel is a little bit more expensive, but with how I drive like a grandma on the highway, I'm able to get incredible MPGs on the highway, and it's really not bad. So I mean, I get it, like gas is expensive, but I am pretty much just based, mostly in LA, so I don't really have to go anywhere. And then if I do have to go somewhere, it's really not that bad. Like I think driving to like San Francisco and back, it cost me maybe like $150. So that's like a 6-hour drive there and back.
Yeah. Is it difficult to park in LA or like busier cities in California?
That's a funny, intricate question as well, because I know a bunch of my friends that are in the van life community. Maybe you guys in here even know a little bit about the stealth van life community. So I know that was what I think I saw one of your videos one time. You were saying that was what you were going for as well. So I really got deep into that because I could tell that was going to be an issue, and from just whatever I read, and even people like I met, like there was a friend I made in Key West who she was living in like a traditional like camper where it looked, like you're living in the van. And my van, the way it looks, it's just a white work van with no windows, but I have a very enormous skylight. And I even leave like a construction hat, like it's a real hard hat, like a yellow, dirty hard hat. And I leave it on the dashboard. So, if you look at my van, parked in downtown LA or wherever I'm at, all you see is a beat up kind of, it's got a couple dents on it. And I put the visors around. So if you look at it from the outside, all you'll see is this hard hat, like a filthy construction hard hat in this, white work van with no windows. And I used to work for Amazon. So I have like a yellow, like fluorescent vest. So I'll just kind of like line that on the dashboard. outside of the visors with the construction hat. So it's pretty insane because I've actually parked in a lot of places where like I wasn't supposed to. Like I went and like I looked like at the sign and I was like, oh, it's, you know, only till this time. And then like whatever, like I was doing something, watching TV, and I just fell asleep. And I would wake up like the next day at like 7 a.m. like, oh no, like I wasn't planning to stay here. Like I'm gonna have a ticket. And I've never had a ticket. I've never had a ticket. So it's just it's incredible in a way, you know, because I know my friend that I was hanging out with in Key West when I was, you know, if I stayed with her occasionally, we got people that bothered us like every night. Some cop would like knock on the door and bother us, where it's like I stayed on the beach in Key West like for a month. Nobody bothered me. And we stayed in like similar areas. And just because her van looked more like it was something that people were living in, it's like people are looking for that. And for whatever reason, to shame, you know, these days, I guess it's apparently illegal in some areas to live in your vehicle for whatever reason. So I thought about that a lot. And I was like, well, let me build the van and leave it in a way where no one would think that I'm living in it. So if you look at my van, my solar panels even and everything, they're flat to the roof. You know, like I see a lot of people, they'll do solar panels where they're like raised a little bit. So then it's like, okay, you know, I see your solar panels. I see you got your max fan. I see you got your fat AC. And then you have like your little cool window, you know. So it's like everybody knows you're living in that thing, you know. But for mine, I don't think anybody knows. And it's funny because I've pushed it. Like there was a place I stayed in Florida, just a beautiful beach on the west coast of Florida. And I remember I was just like looking for places to stay one night when I was playing over in that area. And I saw this like beautiful beach where there's like a path you could drive right up to the sand. And I was like, man, this looks so cool. But I can see there's like an Air Force base that this is attached to. Like I'm probably going to get in trouble. But whatever, let's just try it. You know, I'll just go drive out here to this beach. And what's the worst case scenario? Somebody bothers me to leave. So then I stay there, wake up the next day, and, you know, I have my coffee on the beach, walk right out to the ocean, and some guy's out there fishing. And he's like, oh, like, sorry, like, I hope I didn't disturb you or wake you. You know, I was like, no, you didn't. And like, what do you mean? Like, why would you even be concerned about that? And he's like, well, I just figured, you know, you were an Air Force vehicle or something, you know? And it's like, wow, like, oh my God, you know, it's like, I feel like, you know, I wasn't stealth enough in that area, but I think the stealthiness of my van is pretty high. It's like a 9 out of 10 stealth, you know, and then you see like even in a place like that where it's like, this is, you know, there's not supposed to be any vehicles here other than like an Air Force vehicle. If my van just looks so like it could be anything and all you see is the construction hat and the work vest. So even this random guy out here, he assumed that I was like working in the Air Force.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, it's amazing. You know, like I could literally be anywhere, I guess, you know, as opposed to like friends of mine, like one of my best friends, his mom has a beautiful school bus that they built out, you know, and like, where do they park? You know, well, they park in an RV lot, you know, and they pay rent to live in this RV lot. I have never paid money to park anywhere in my entire van life career. I'm not even like somebody that parks at Walmart or Cracker Barrel. I don't even do that. I stay like on a beautiful cliff or like on the beach just in places, and that's where I like to stay. And it's just it's amazing to me that it just, you know, it doesn't seem like even people like in the Air Force or police, they look at my van and they immediately just quickly like, that's a construction worker, that's must be an electrician, you know, or whatever. And it's just like right over their head. They're like, no way is there somebody in there living in there, you know. And it's just it's that night and day. I think if you are diligent to make your van really stealth, you know, I think it's something that you wouldn't realize how important it is. It's just, you know, I don't know how much you've struggled. I'm actually curious, like, have you had people bother you at all, like trying to stay places, have knocks in anywhere?
Well, East Coast is very different than
It
West Coast for
is, you're right.
and I've only ever been in my van in the Northeast.
Hmm.
But I have had, I think, 3 or 4 cops knock on my door at different times.
Okay, that's not too bad.
I mean, I'm normally at a Walmart. Like Walmart is
That's your
my
go-to.
yeah, my first home. Not even my second home. Like that's my first home. Because it's just it feels safe
Yeah.
always.
it's low key, it's easy, you know, you don't have to think about if it's going to be okay. And I get that, you know, the peace of mind is everything.
Using like allstates.com, I can like look up and be like, what have other people experienced here? So like I kind of already have, I can feel safe before I even parked there or even looked at it
Right.
before wasting there. Though I mean, of course I've seen things, you know, seen plenty of things. Crazy. Do you have any like crazy experiences, things you've seen in your van at night?
Uh, Crazy things I've seen at night. Let's see. Well, there was somebody that tried to break into my van in Hollywood, maybe like a month ago, but it wasn't too bad. They just like kind of like scratched this like little vent in the back that was there that isn't even being used anymore. So I actually took those vents out. It was for an old air conditioning system I had. I'm not sure what you went with air conditioning. Also, I saw somebody in here asked, "Where do you poop?" I don't know if we want to get into that.
Everyone asks not only every week on this show, but like someone asks me at least once a day. Do you get asked that like all the time?
Yeah, I mean, you see, it's usually like, where do you park? Where do you go to the bathroom? And that type of thing. I mean, if you want to get into the whoever asked, where do I poop?
No,
I don't mind. I'll get into that. Well, I do have my first van that was totaled. I had a plumbing system that was really nice where I had a toilet, you know, it was a real porcelain toilet. You could flush the toilet and it would go into black water. But that van, like I said, was totaled. So that this new one, I just went with a camping toilet. And honestly, I don't use that toilet, you know. I'm lucky, I guess, in a way. My body works like clockwork. I only have to go number 2 like once in the day in the morning, and it's like as soon as I wake up. So I just walk to like a grocery store or wherever, you know, get a coffee, use the bathroom, and then as a dude, it's pretty easy to use the bathroom too. You know, it's like you can kind of use the bathroom wherever if you're going number 1, you know, and yeah, so whatever, you know, it's not glamorous, I guess, but you guys asked, so that's what you wanted to know. But yeah, number 2, once in the morning, I'll just find a restaurant or a grocery store or somewhere close by. Probably, you know, LA Fitness usually is my go-to. Just immediately walk to LA Fitness, take a shower, get a quick workout, use the bathroom, and then I'm back in the van for the day.
Yeah. Do you have any kind of plumbing in or like bathroom in your current van?
Just the camping toilet, the shower, and the sink.
But does that work for you? Like if you could change it, would you change anything about it, or is that like that works well for
I
you?
don't think I would change it. No, I mean, I think if I had like maybe a girlfriend or somebody, I would probably maybe like get one of those Nature's Head toilets instead of my camping toilet. Have you seen those?
I have.
They're really nice, but they're like $1,000.
Yeah, which is
Yeah,
crazy.
so
Like,
I don't think I need that, but you know, if I have a girlfriend at some point, I'll probably buy one just for her.
well, okay. I find it very difficult to find people who want to do like I feel like people who want to do van life and who can take there's a certain level of grossness in van life or like weirdness of which
Yeah,
you have in your life,
right.
and people are very, very like strangers like I find on a normal daily basis. Find people online, like you can easily find like your niche online.
Hmm.
It's hard to be like, oh yeah, like I live in a van and you know like I pee in a water bottle and then like, they don't get it. They think I'm super weird for that. So I think that's like a harder thing to find people to understand it. And it's like on the
Right.
internet, I talk to someone,
Yeah,
yeah,
I get it. You appreciate the quiet.
yeah. Like I think it was Jared. I bring up Jared's live all the time because it was 3 hours. So he said so much. But Jared's live, he told me how someone like legit went to the bathroom in a rug and they just threw away the
Oh
rug.
God.
And I'm like, so authentic van life. Like you do what you got to do. You get the perks. You have to.
You got to be creative, you know, and willing to be flexible. It's an eccentric lifestyle, isn't it?
Eccentric is the exact perfect word.
B Max said it right. When you got to go, you got to go.
Yeah, and if you're gonna be in remote places, like I have never been like in a remote place because I'm like on the East Coast. I'm always in a city. Like I just lived in Salem for a whole month, and I was
Right.
in a park, like a porta potty, like eye distance. So
There you
like I have
go.
a problem. Like I have not had that problem yet, but the number of city van lifers to middle of nowhere van lifers is so most people have that problem.
Right. I'm surprised that you've only been East Coast. Why is that? You don't get
but
like the hankering to just drive around and go somewhere far away?
I do so much, so much. But so with my van, basically what happened was I didn't budget correctly. Part of it that was that it was COVID and things went up price wise. I didn't
Right.
budget afterwards. I didn't budget for my heater or my winter tires. And so at the very end of my van build, I was like, oh, I'm good. And then at the very end, there was that like expensive maintenance bill, the winter tires and the heater, which I didn't think I was going to need, but I decided to move to Vermont. So I just way overdid it. So now I have to move around and get an actual job. So I just pick cities.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I don't have the money right now to just go to California, though I'd love to live in Oregon. That's where I want to go when I go East Coast or West Coast, but we'll get there eventually. But I'm doing a new van build next year. So
Oh, really? You're gonna sell your van and get a new one?
yeah.
Wow. Well, in my opinion, I bet I can tell that you're a crafty person. I guarantee if you went out to Oregon, you would figure it out just because I can tell that's the kind of person you are.
Figure out how to build a van
Well,
in the
no,
middle of.
you would figure out how to make a living down there. You know, I know you're selling like things you're making and things like that. Oregon's a place that they would love that. You know, you could do that like in Venice Beach or something. That's what everybody does out there. I bet you could crush it.
I really
I
like
think you should do it.
like I was an actress at a witch dungeon during October.
I know, I saw that was cool. You're a great actor. You're doing everything.
I like not only was I acting, I was also working in like a scare cell like throughout the day. So I got different jobs. I was a tour guide, I was acting, and I was working in the scare cell. And so I would legit just hide in this dark box in a dungeon, like a basement dungeon that was absolutely cursed, no doubt. And I would just like jump out at people and make them scream. And I got paid for that. And I was like, what better
It's a
job?
beautiful thing.
There's not.
I love it.
It was great. So I just like traveling and getting weird jobs like that. And I know there's ones in
Oh,
Oregon. Yeah. This is like, people don't like this movie, but I want to work in Forks, Washington at the diner from Twilight. That's on my list of places I want to work.
Do it.
So definitely plenty of weird jobs to get. A lot of people think when you are a van lifer, you have to like either work online or have like an online job of some kind. But I mean, I guess I do now, but that was accidental. So
Right. I
yeah.
mean, well, you know, even for me, you know, like I'm luckily now I have a handful of agents and I'm not doing it as much anymore. But even like before I had the van and as I got the van for about a year or so, I was a pretty avid street performer or busker, if you will. So depending on where you do that, oh my God, it can be so ridiculously lucrative. And it's very different. Every city is a little bit different with how much they seem to have like a desire for you to be there doing that, you know. And what do I mean? Like, you know, Orlando versus like LA versus like Boulder, Colorado versus like Key West, or even like my parents used to live in Ohio, in Dublin, you know, like I would play on this really beautiful bridge where like they redid this downtown area of Dublin, Ohio, and I would probably average in a few hours, I would make maybe $200 just playing like whatever, you know, like whatever people wanted. I would take requests, and yeah, so places like Dublin, you know, it's a little less blown out for the music thing, but then I found like in places like LA or Venice Beach, where there's just too many people that are like trying to make it in the music scene or whatever scene, you know, acting. People are more sick of like that. So you won't make quite as much. But, you know, then, you know, places like Key West, it was crazy how much money I would make, like in Key West or Boulder, Colorado. I think there was like a week or two in Boulder, Colorado, which is actually where I got my van built out. That's where Mike, I don't know if you're still in here, but I saw he popped in here. Sat sang there in Lafayette, Colorado, which is like maybe 20 minutes from Boulder. I think I made like $3,000 a couple weeks were, you know, street performing in Boulder. You know, it's pretty substantial. Like my dad, you know, like he makes like six figures doing like a computer job. You know, I don't think he makes $3,000 a week. You know,
what would your advice be to someone who wants to do what you're doing, moving around, being a musician, like to get started being a van lifer and a musician? How you're doing?
well, I mean, it's funny, you know, because I look back and just kind of connect the dots now to like see like how did this get to this point now where like it is just kind of in a comfortable scenario, because it wasn't always, I think what really happened, I was just very stubborn. I was like, no, I'm gonna do this, and we'll figure it out, you know and then I think at that point, what does that mean? You just go to places, you find a city, wherever's closest to you, where there's some foot traffic, and you just find whatever like way you want to perform. Like I even sometimes, like, I won't even play guitar. I'll just queue up some tracks, and I have a speaker, and I'll just sing for like hours or whatever. And I did that for 5 hours a day, like every day throughout the week, at different times. And I loved it because it's just what I love to do. So I think it's one of those things where it's like there's no really right or wrong answer. I think once you just kind of decide like this is what I'm going to do, and I'm just going to start taking some steps in this direction, you'll see how it all kind of just starts to align for you, And I think I don't know, it's kind of amazing, because I didn't expect it to be that way. I remember, like, like, I'm 32. When I started busking, I was probably around 25, 26. And I remember the first time I went out, I was like, in my mind, it was really mean. Like, I was really mean to myself. I was like, this is a stupid idea. You shouldn't go busking. You're going to bother everybody in town. You don't know enough music. You're not like that great at guitar yet. You shouldn't do this. It's not a good idea. And the first time I went out and actually was brave enough to just go busk, I think I made like $50, in a couple hours. So it's like, my thought is like, even when I wasn't very good, at anything specifically, I just went out there and I just played and smiled at people, said hello. People will, it seems like if you can kind of just like make eye contact with somebody and smile, and then like maybe say hello to them, they'll give you some money. They'll give you $1, and whatever. And if you're just doing that all day, like 4 to 5 hours a day, you're going to make pretty good money, probably better than most regular jobs you're going to find. So my advice for somebody that wants to get into music, and if you're doing van life, and you're trying to make a living, just go play. Just go find somewhere nearest to you where there's some foot traffic. Doesn't matter where you're at. If you can find an area like a mall, or just some place where people hang out, Friday or Saturday night even, go out there and try it. Try it for at least 3 hours. Because I think, you could go, like, I'll go like an hour sometimes even, like myself, like the last handful of times I went out, where like you might go like 45 minutes to an hour, and you might not make $1. You might make nothing. But then like an hour and a half goes by, 2 hours goes by, and you talk to somebody and you really like just connect with them. And then it's like that person hands you like $100 bill. I've been handed so many $100 bills from people, like in Key West, there was a lady that handed me a 50. And I remember like I was playing a song and she came back like 15 minutes later and she handed me like another 50. I was like, you just gave me $50. Like, are you sure? Like, you might need this money. Like, don't just give me all your money. Like, maybe you're drunk. Like, you should, like, you might need this. And she's like, no, you're here. You sound good. I like that you're still here. Take my other 50, I'm like, all right, whatever, thank you. My God. So I just think it's amazing, like to find that people, not everybody, but enough people, I would say, like maybe 49 out of 50 people in most places are going to be happy that you're there playing music. And if you're just a happy person in a good mood, and just providing a nice atmosphere, I think people really appreciate it, And I saw another comment in here. Somebody said, this would be a good comment for both of us, because I'm curious what you'll say to this. Are you feeling alone? Do you ever feel like a plastic bag? Um, no, that wasn't what they said. But they said, do you ever feel alone? And now I lost the comment. But do I ever feel alone? Yeah, I mean, you do. But I think it's amazing, especially like when you're doing what I'm doing, like as even just like going to perform somewhere, is if you're a nice person and you kind of create like an open communication with the area around, you'll find that people will gather and they'll want to be your friend. And then at that point, it's like, I'm like, well, I am alone. And like, yeah, I would love to be friends. So then it's like, I've made friends like in that moment that I've ended up hanging out with like all week or whatever. And then they're like a lifelong friend, you know? And it's just like, yeah. So like, it's a tough one because it's like it was a Katy Perry lyric. Nice, Maverick. Yeah. So what you'll find is that, yes, you are alone. And I don't know, there's like one of my favorite philosophers that says, you're going to learn so much about yourself and really, just like what you should be doing and what you shouldn't be doing and like what you truly care about if you can be brave enough to take some time to really spend time alone and figure out like who you are, and I think in that space you will find other people that just truly care, and they're just so incredibly inspired by what you do. They want to be your friend, and then it's just a beautiful situation at that point. Cause then it's like, you find people that truly feel connected to you and want to be your friend, as opposed to like, some of my friends I still hang out with, I'm not going to mention names. They like to go to like bars and clubs and stuff like that. And I'm like, that's just not my thing, like I'll go, but it's like nobody wants to like be my friend like at a club or something. Like I'll talk to some girl and they'll be mean. But it's like if I go out and like play music, it's like, what do you know? All these people want to be my friend now, so it's like synergy where it's like I'm doing the thing that is what I truly want to do and feels the most fulfilling. And then I get better at that thing. And then I meet people that want to be my friend in that space. So it's like, wow, this is just it's just, like I said, it's like as you start just doing the thing and you just, believe in yourself and start just taking steps in a direction, you'll see how the stars just seem to align, somehow. Somebody just said hi to me. I think it was Edwin. Hello, Edwin.
I actually kind of feel a little bit differently about that, only because I think often now, since I started like posting on social media, people are like, oh, are you lonely? And I'm like, or they expect that I'm an extrovert. And I'm like, I live in a van. Like, I am not extroverted. Like, I live in a little cave that I made for myself.
Right.
And I travel and like to be in like the woods far from me. I'm a very introverted person, and so I don't need as much like person to person like conversations and whatnot as I think a person who's extroverted would need. I think for a person who's extroverted, it'd be a little bit harder to live in a van.
Right.
But also, I always have a job when I live in my van. Like, so I'm still going to work around people every day.
Right.
So like there are different types of connections, and you can still make those throughout van life in whatever form you choose to do it, because there's also like no one road you have to take either.
Right. Yeah. You kind of, it's like, it's like a la carte. You just build it yourself, and then you see as you go down the road, no pun intended, I think that whatever you're doing, it will start to align. And you say you're not extroverted, but in my opinion, you're at least an ambivert, because look what you do. You're like a literal talk show host. If you were introverted, you wouldn't be doing this.
I'm not actually sure how I got this job. I think Sammy was on here, who's the CEO of Project Vanlife. I don't know how people let me do this. I don't know.
You're good at it. Stop.
Well, thank
You're
you.
funny.
I think it's much easier to present, like to talk to people on social media than it is to be in like a room full of people and be on stage in front of people. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, for
like,
sure.
As this goes through, there'll be thousands of people who go through it, however long we go for, and I'm not standing in front of a room of those thousands of people, but I still have at one point, talked to them at some point tonight. So it's just way less scary doing it this way than it is doing it with real people standing in front of you.
I agree. But even with that, it's like, I'm not going to pretend like I wasn't terrified to do what I do. Like I was telling you, like the first time I went busking even, I was terrified. In my mind, I was saying like, I was like, this is stupid, like you're going to ruin everyone's day, and it's like, and then even like like I did that tour, in Europe, and then like the first show was like in this massive arena that like Rihanna and like Lady Gaga have played, and then like I'm singing like solo with the piano on the second song. Like I'm literally like dying inside. I'm so nervous, but then it's like, we do the tour for 3 months. And then by like the end of the tour, I'm like bored, and I'm almost like numb to it, So I think that's another thing that it's tough to really like grasp unless you start doing it, because it's like, yeah, you're going to be afraid. And I think it's normal. I think most people, you hear like, what's the biggest fear that people have? It's usually like public speaking and stuff like that, but then it's like, what happens? Some people, they push through it. And then after you just do it, for like, I don't know, like 6 months even, or even like a few months, you'll notice this is like an interesting concept. Like, I'm going to get philosophical here, but like, let's take an example of like just going street performing or something like that. So you're going to be nervous if you've never done it before. Don't pretend like you're not going to be nervous. You will, because that's normal. But what I find, and like, you could look into this, but like, I think anybody would find the same thing. You only have a certain capacity to be nervous in a situation. So after about what, like an hour or two of playing music in that situation, like on a stage, your ability to hold that nervousness, you're going to lose it. It's going to go away, where it's like you physically lose the ability to continue being nervous after about an hour or two. And then guess what? You're still there. And now what? Now you're in the space where you want to be, where you can truly be like yourself and artistic. And then at that point, it's like, wow, what happened? But it's like, you have to like break through that barrier, and it's like, to break through that barrier, it's nothing that I want to downplay and act like, why don't you just do it? It's easy. It's not easy. It's very scary, and but I think it's so rewarding when you find, the bravery and courage to really push through it. Like even like something like I've sort of given up on this, but like I tried to do stand-up comedy a little bit here and there. I think Jared Tucci said he was into that a little bit as well.
Yeah.
But it's like, I remember the first time I ever tried to do stand-up, like at an open mic, I literally feel like I like blacked out. I was so nervous. But then like after that, I was like, okay, it wasn't that bad. And then I did it again. And then like 6 months go by and I still wasn't that great at it, but I wasn't as nervous anymore. And then I just found that music seemed like it was just something that was immediately, people accepted me more into it, and I just let that kind of take me. But the philosophical thought is still there. If there's something that scares you, I think that's a big sign that it's something that you should do. You should do it. If it scares you, it's probably because you care about it so much. Why else would it scare you? You have to run at it.
So you're gonna do your next fan build, is what you're saying. You're gonna do your own. You're gonna build out your own next fan. Is that what we're learning?
Maybe. I don't know. That's okay. I don't know, because I think I like my van, and I don't know if I ever want to change it. I think it's just the way I want it to be.
Gotcha. So you wouldn't ever like get a new van or anything. You're this one is it for you.
I mean, if somebody offered me like a lot of money around the, what I paid for it, which, was around like, really, like, I'm embarrassed to say, it was probably around like $75,000 at this point, like with everything, because it was like 10 to, $11,000 for the shell of the van. And then I put about 65 into the build, but like I didn't do it, so half of that was labor cost.
Yeah.
So, but no, I mean, like, I feel like, I'm not in my van right now, but like there's moments like every day in my van where I just kind of take a look. I'm like, this is freaking awesome. Like, I really am just happy that I had somebody do this nicely, because it's like, it's just so pretty in there and comfy. And it's like the space just breathes, and I could have company over in there. And it's like, it feels like, not cramped. It feels like it like you can have a conversation over here. Like somebody could sit in the front seat, and then the passenger seat swivels around. And then my bed, it's built in a way where like the middle of it has like a cutout, so I could set it up where it could be like a U-shaped couch. So then like 3 people could sit back there. My shower, it like collapses into a chair as well, so you could sit on the shower. 3 people could sit in the back. Somebody could sit in the front seat, and the driver's or in the passenger seat, you could open the sliding door, and then people could hang out in back. I've literally had like little parties like that I didn't intend to, like in different places, like downtown Hollywood, where I'm like, okay, there's like 6 people in my van I don't know. I'm a little uncomfortable, but it's like everybody just seems like they're at least casual. So it's like, whatever, and you get used to it. I'm like, actually, this is great. Like, I really like it. It's just fun to have people just enjoying my space, and then at that point, at the end of the night, I'm like, all right, everybody get out. I'm going to bed, 2 minutes down the road, and I don't even really put much thought into where I park, because it's just so stealth.
Mm. What are some of the things you do think about though when you are looking for a spot, or are you literally just like it's that easy for you where you are?
Honestly, I feel like I've gone like over a year at least, without anybody bothering me anywhere I've tried to park, even when I felt like I was pushing it, like staying on that Air Force base and stuff like that. But if I'm really in an area where like I don't know, I use the app. I think you probably spoke about the app, iOverlander. Great app, because that app is sick. If you guys don't know, you guys should check that out here in the van life world here. iOverlander is a free app, and you could find not only places to park and do wild camping, but it also has places to find water and like literally anything you might need.
Yeah.
We're talking van life with people not in vans. We suck.
We
We're fake. Sorry, drunken. I've been in my van for 4 years. I'm visiting my family right now in Pennsylvania for a brief moment, and I didn't want to drive from California to Pennsylvania because that's an incredible journey there and back. So I just bought a plane ticket. But rest assured, I'll be back in the van for the entire year on the 5th of July. So
here's
don't worry.
learned over the last 3 months of being on social media with my van is that there are hurdles and there's a lot of gatekeeping in this community of who qualifies as a van lifer. And one, it's the holidays right now. Two, I have every right to be able to live my life and go to a hotel for 3 days. You know what I mean? And there's like people tell you that you're not a van lifer if you take off some time for a holiday. And I went home to my family for Thanksgiving and I felt guilty the whole time because I was like, well, I can't post it on social media to say that this is where I am because of safety. But also I felt fake because I was posting things as if I was a full-time van lifer, but I wasn't. And so I was having a lot of like, oh, I'm faking it. People are going to know and like all these different things. And there is no, if you're a part-time van lifer, if you just have a van and you use it on the weekends,
Weekend warrior.
It's like, we are a community, and I think, especially at Project Van Life, like we want to accept anyone for whoever wants to come into their van, whoever wants to get started. If you're getting started because you have no option or because you have lots of money and it's something that you're interested in to make your life more fulfilled, like there should not be so much gatekeeping in van life. And I
got some people sticking up for us in here. Thank you, Maverick, and that's not it. I agree with you, Tor.
Something that I noticed a lot, and that when it comes to this community, like I want to find someone as well to like interview for this show who like isn't a full-time van lifer. Like I think everyone that I've interviewed so far is a full-time van lifer, and I think this is maybe the second or third live where actually like the person I've interviewed isn't in a van, and this is my first one not being in a van either. And it's just like that's okay. Like right. You don't have to be in your van 24/7. I mean, you shouldn't be. Like that's how it gets cost. That's how like
we're human beings, like and it's like you said, it's not a competition to be like, I've been in this van and I've never walked outside for 5 years. It's like, what are you gaining by that? Like you win a trophy, it's like somebody in here just said, like, you got to live your life and do the things you need to do. It's like, sorry, I want to hang out with my family for a couple weeks,
Yeah, I have that.
I think they deserve that, my mom and dad.
So I'm actually, because I'm building a new van build next year, I'm going to be home building it at like my parents' house.
Right.
I'm not going to be technically a van lifer for all that time.
Fake van lifer. You got to delete your account, find a different thing to do.
I do. This is my fight. But you know what? I'm literally making the content because I want to be able to help people have accessible things on YouTube. And I'm like doing a lot of like showing like the Van Life Academy, the Project Van Life. Super thorough program. Like when I started working for them, I looked through their program. It like is very step by step thing that I would have wanted when I did my van build, and I'm actually going to use it for my new van build. And like to be able to show that to people and be like, this is how to make van build accessible for more people who are enjoying it. And I'm not traveling for a little bit to be able to help educate people. And because like, financially, like the new van build is going to help me a lot get back in a place where I can travel more.
Right.
And so I will be in my parents' driveway. And that's gonna make some comments, and you know what? That's okay.
I read the stuff that people say though. Like obviously, there's people here that feel die hard and things like that. But I see some of the stuff that people say to you on different things. Like there's some guy that commented on something you wrote recently, and he's like, just to see your posts every day, it's so inspirational because it just reminds him of how liberating that lifestyle can be. And I think that's why you do it, you know, it's because like there are people that are vicariously watching me and you and what we're doing, and they see like, holy crap, like this is so awesome, you know? And it's like, not everybody's going to feel that way, but we do it for what? We do it for the people that truly like change their whole lives based on, you know, seeing like, hey, this girl, Tori, she's just doing it her own way, you know? And it's like, look at her. She's figuring it out, you know? It's awesome, you know? So it's like, that's why I do it. And it's, you know, sometimes it's annoying. Like I'll be like in a place and somebody will come up to me and like, maybe you've seen this, I don't know, maybe not as much where you're at, but like where I'm like, you know, in like a high traffic area, like my door might be open for a moment and somebody will walk by and they'll just like be gawking like at the inside of my van. They're like, oh my God, like that's so awesome. I've always wanted to do this. How about a tour of your van right now? Because I am blown away. And it's like, I would like a tour right now. And it's like, well, you know, it's like, I don't just like go and like ring people's doorbell like, wow, your house is beautiful. How about a tour inside now? Let's go. Because I like it. You must feel the same way, right? And it's like, honestly, I usually will be like, yeah, sure, take a look. You know, because it's like, I remember what it was like when I didn't have the van, and I felt that way. You know, like every time I would see a van life person, I was like blown away. And I was like, oh my God, it's so cool, you know? So it's like, I want people, you know, when they see what I do, to hold that feeling and do something with it, blossom it, you know? And so that's why I will, you know, like anybody that sees me, you know, unless I'm like literally like working or about to go somewhere like I have to be, I will take a few minutes and let somebody peek around and see it, because I want them to realize like, hey, you know, paying rent is kind of stupid, you know? Like I paid like over $1,000 a month to live in like downtown Boston when I was going to Berkeley, you know, and I was like sharing a bedroom with somebody, you know? And it's like, now I don't pay rent. My rent is like my insurance, which is like once a year, and it's like $1,000, you know? And then other than that, like I have to pay for gas, but I try my best to like not go anywhere because I just stay central to LA now.
Yeah. I've actually only ever let one person like tour my van. Like, I've been a van lifer for 2 years. I've never, this weekend I will actually see other vans in person for the first time, but I've never I met one other van lifer in person, and they came up to my van, and I let one person who I was on Van Alley, and they knocked on my door and they wanted to be a van lifer, and she was a woman. I saw her from my mirror.
Okay.
She was a woman. So as if it was a guy, I would never have answered. I was honking the horn, like, get
Smart.
away from me.
Smart, yeah. Or have your pepper spray or something on you, you know?
I sell pepper spray. So
Good.
I have like 75 things pepper spray in my van at all times.
Good.
That's my small business is selling safety tools. So I'm always massively, I mean, within arm's distance right now.
Yeah.
So
that's the way it should be.
I think that's actually when I was hearing you say that, I was thinking about how you were like, yeah, I'll let like anyone in my van tour if they're like, I'm like, I never open my side door. I am so overly cautious about safety, and that's something that, because I think the majority of people that I've interviewed for Van Life Unfiltered has been like guys and men and whatnot, and they're all like so lax on safety, and I'm like, you let someone into your van and know that you live in it? I'm like, you did what?
I do. Yeah. I'm too lax in a way, but I guess I sacrifice it because it is that internal, like, you know, if you really that inspired that you just came up to bother me to just look at this, you must really be in a position where you're super inspired. And I don't want to do anything to dwindle that. I want to build it up. I want to pour gas in the fire, because for me, you know, I remember feeling that exact way and always questioning, like, I don't know, like, is it really going to be that great? Maybe living in a van is going to suck. Maybe it's going to be terrible, you know? And that was like something that like my mind would always just kind of be like, I don't know. But then like after having done it, you know, and actually living in it, it's like, there's no part of me, you know, that's ever regretted it. It's only been like, oh my God, like, why did I not do this sooner? You know?
Yeah.
So I want people to feel that, and I want them to go after it, you know? But also, yes, you know, I'm like a 6 foot tall dude, you know, and it's like, I know that, you know, it's not the same world for, you know, out there, and you don't want to be stupid, you know, you got to protect yourself. And I've heard a lot of horror stories, you know, so don't be stupid. That's the moral of the story. And I love what you're doing with, you know, teaching people self-defense and things like that, because God, that's, you know, so so important, you know.
It's so important. Actually, someone earlier asked about like safety in vans. They were asking about how people stay safe in vans. And I just want to say first, like for me, a lot of people are like, "Oh, I'm a woman and I can't do that because it's unsafe."
I've heard that a lot. Yep.
Like that's my apartment building is where I was sexually assaulted, so it's like from eye distance of where I was living. So like to me, I'm like, it could happen in an apartment. Why is it that different? Like so instead of being afraid of van life in that sense and being like, you know, so you should absolutely think about safety. But instead of being afraid of it, prepare for those things and prepare.
Yes.
Self-defense, have tools. There are so many different things. I'm working on like an ebook with Project Van Life. I'm going to give a speech at their event as well on safety. And if you are prepared for it, then taking more time to prepare is more important than, you know, being like, oh, I can't have a van because it's unsafe. So there's a million things people can do to stay safe in a van. Do you have any safety measures in your van at all?
Do I have what?
Like
Safety?
any safety measures in your van?
Ugh, I feel like embarrassed to say no. But I do have some pepper spray. I mean, like, I don't know, I have some cooking knives. I have a skateboard. I have like a microphone stand that, like, you know, if I disconnect the bottom, it's just like a big metal pole. So, you know, I got some things that could be used as blunt weapons. But luckily, nobody has ever gotten to that point where I felt like that was necessary, you know? And I think it's about having, like, maybe the word is acuity. I saw another question here I wanted answered that I thought was interesting. If you're drinking in the back and using your heater so the van is on and the police come, will you get a DWI? That's a great question. So let's just break that question down from some real life examples. I've been in my van for, you know, 3.5-ish years. I've had police bother me, like, thank God, like less than like maybe 4-ish, maybe like 4 to 5 times I've had somebody bother me. And what do I do? Like, let's say a cop comes and knocks on my door. And if I was drinking, which I don't think I have been in those situations, what I do is usually, thankfully I put my visors up so you can't really see in the van and the doors are locked. So what I do literally is I just listen to the cops and they'll usually like bother me. They'll be like, hey, open up, PD. And I just don't open the door. I wait like 30 minutes, whatever it takes. And what you'll find is they will leave. And then when they leave, you leave. And then you go somewhere else. So it's like, even when I have had a cop bother me like a couple times, just be smart about it and realize, hey, just because a cop's bothering you here, if your car is off and your visors are up, how do they know you're in there? They don't. So then if no one answers for like, you don't answer the door for like 30 minutes, they have other stuff to do. They're not going to just live at your van, especially if you haven't done anything that they can see like immediately. So they're going to go away. And then once they go away, just leave. So that's what I would do to that question there. I saw another person in here that's a friend from Hollywood. Yeah, I remember you. Official Freak Show. That guy, he plays, I think that if I know who that is, it's somebody that plays a character in Hollywood. Hello. Sorry.
No. I actually think that wouldn't have worked I've had, I think, 3 or 4 knocks. I
Okay.
can't anymore.
How did you handle them?
One of them, I was asleep with headphones on, and the vehicle just starts to rise into the air. And
So you're getting towed?
I was getting towed.
Oh my God.
So that one, you can't wait.
No.
You have to go.
Wow, that's crazy. That's never happened to me.
Yeah,
that's one for the books.
So I tell that story because
My God.
Run, and the guy's covered in cameras, and there's cop cars and sirens and all that across the parking lot.
Where was that?
Like, hey, and like, what's up? What's going on? Can you put me down? And he was like, you can't stay here. And I was like, well, what is that going on over there? And he was like, 2 people had overdosed in the parking lot that night, and I had headphones on, like Bose noise canceling headphones, Taylor Swift players, no clue, sleeping through the whole thing.
Right.
So, don't wear headphones. And so I got towed, almost. And then another one was I had my heater on. I guess that was kind of part of his question. I had my heater on. I was in Salem, Massachusetts, in the common area, if anyone's ever been there. And there's like a park over here, like a kids park, and I'm over here. And like now I realize why that's what happened. Someone called an officer on me for having my vehicle on for like 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
My vehicle, but I woke up that morning, my battery was dead, like, so I couldn't charge my phone, so I couldn't go anywhere because I didn't know where I was going. I like my fridge was off, so my food had all pretty much gone bad. Like it was just I needed, and so I was like, am I going to drive or just turn my car on? So I just turned my car on because wouldn't even know where I was going to drive, and I sat there for like 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Cop comes over, knocks on the door, and he's like, roll the window down, but that window on my passenger side is broken, so I can't roll it down. So he just opened the door, and I was like, am I going to die? Like, he's just wearing a vest.
Yikes.
Like,
Yeah.
or not. Like, and my doors weren't locked because my friend was like, they went to the bathroom and they were coming back. Like, oh, like 5 minutes. Like, I can leave them unlocked for 5 minutes. And of course, in those 5 minutes,
Nope.
those 5 minutes count is what I learned as well. So, but yeah, besides that, they've always just been very nice and been like, oh, hey, like, just drive across the street and park there. I'm like, oh, cool. So,
yeah. Not too bad.
Not too scary.
Yeah. But I get it. Like, everybody in here that's asking these questions, it's like, these are the burning questions that everybody has, you know, before you get into it. But what you will see, you guys, is that if you just start to live the lifestyle and you get kind of like a hang of it, you know, and you realize like, hey, let's not stay in a neighborhood, you know, where like people are out there and they don't like that there's a random van parked there, you know, like go to like you go to Walmart. I might go to like a side street of like an apartment complex where there are other people that just are overflow parking in that area or something like that, you know. And if you have an app like iOverlander, oh my God, like that app is really just is the icing on the cake, because iOverlander is great because you can just open it up and it has a map of like the entire world, and everybody like logs little points all around the map, and you can click the points and set it to like places to park overnight, and then you click it and you'll see like literally all of the entire world, people logging like, hey, I stayed here for 2 days in my camper, you know, not even a stealth van. I stayed here for 2 days. Nobody bothered me, you know, and it's like, wow, that was, you know, a month ago, and this person just did that. That's awesome. So, you know, at that point, I'll go check that spot out. And it's like, you know, pretty much every time I've ever done that, it's always been fine. So, you know, these days it's so much easier to do it because there are tools at your disposal, and that app, you know, again, iOverlander is free. So awesome. It works great. It's not even buggy. And it's just really, it'll make your life so easy, you know, because then if you're worried about that, and you said the other one, I can't remember what it was, but you had another good one where it was like, you could check Walmart's.
Allstates.com.
Yeah, I haven't even done that one yet, but what's up, Johnny boy? My friend.
If you ever stay in state parks.
Have I?
Yeah.
Yeah. A week ago, I don't know if you saw, I posted it. I stayed at a gorgeous hot spring. It's like an hour and a half, 2 hours from LA, but it's just like completely remote. I have like one bar of service there with the T-Mobile struggle. And I stayed there, and yeah, it's this completely remote place, and it's like a short walk to the most beautiful hot spring I've ever seen. It's like a nature's hot tub, and since it's kind of like out of the way of the city, it's so freaking pretty that like you can watch constellations and shooting stars like all night, and it's free, you know. And so I travel to like hot springs all over the world. I've been to some in Utah, and I've seen a bunch of them in California now. But I want to go to more state parks. Like I don't know, I've never gone to like Yellowstone, but that's like, I don't know why, I don't have a good excuse. It's like right around where I've been driving up and down. So I want to check Yellowstone out and all of those places. But yeah, I mean, state parks, I mean, I don't know, just beaches really. I'll stay on like different beaches, and there's a cliff that I stay on in the Palisades, like in Santa Monica, and it's so cool. It just like overlooks like all of LA and the beach of Santa Monica, and I stay there sometimes. But you know, maybe you know this too. I think Jared Tucci, I learned this from him. You know, you don't stay the same place 2 days in a row. You know, stay there and then like go back in like a week or two. You know, Europe. Somebody said, man, I would love to ship my van to Europe. I looked into that. I really want to ship my van to Hawaii. I saw that, you know, there's some people that ship their vehicles to Hawaii, and it's like around 2-ish grand, 3-ish grand. So like Oof, I'm so close to just shipping my van to Hawaii and just be like, you know what? This is it. I don't care about the music industry anymore. I'm just gonna relax, learn to fish, and just play, a little, try to get a residency gig in Hawaii or something and just settle down. So I don't know. I'm like every day I feel like I'm like just on the fence of shipping my van to Hawaii. Somebody else had a question. Do you think electric vehicles van be good campers like the Tesla truck when it comes out? I mean, yeah, I heard the Tesla truck is pretty sick. I don't know if that really is available for people. I don't know if you guys saw this, whoever just asked that question. I know Mercedes-Benz, they just started making, and it may actually be available. I've seen a couple FedEx trucks that are like this, but it's like all electric, like enormous FedEx truck. So I don't know, man. I did think about that. That does seem pretty incredible, to have an all electric van. But I don't know if we're really in a position yet, technology wise, that you could power an enormous Sprinter van and really like go that far of a distance. So that's the thing is like, sometimes I might drive from Florida to California, or something like that. And I don't really want to have to worry about like finding charging stations right now. So I think that, whoever just asked that, I think it's for me, still, maybe a few years out before we really are at the technology level where that seems like that would be worth it yet. So I'm still just biting the bullet and paying for gas. But
Question almost every week. That's like this. Like everyone says the same thing. They're like, "It sounds great, but I don't think we're there
right,
yet."
we're not quite there yet. I've even heard like Gavin Newsom, like the governor of California, he's like complaining to like the citizens of California, like, "Hey guys, we don't really have the infrastructure to continue getting more and more Teslas and continuing to power them. If you guys could just like not charge as much, that would be great." So it's like it's going to be another huge problem like soon. It's like we're thinking that's going to be better for the environment to go all electric, but in reality, we don't have the infrastructure to keep powering all these with the electric that consumption that this would take, even for where we're already at now. So we'll see how that goes. I don't think anybody really has an answer for that yet.
Would agree.
Right. Right.
What other questions? Someone asked about animals in a van and if there's a way to stop the smell, but I don't think you have. Do you have an animal in your van or any experience with that or any knowledge about that?
I don't. I always think about that. Like, I wish I had a dog when I was a little kid, and I always wish I had a dog. A friend of mine that I went to the Springs with the other day, she brought both of her dogs with us, but I made her like put down like something over my bed so it didn't get dog hair everywhere. I'm glad I did that because I had dog hair all over like, my clothes for like the next 2 days, but thankfully my van survived and doesn't have dog hair everywhere. Virtue signaling victims. What does that mean?
I don't know. Someone asked about stealing solar panels.
Stealing them?
Stealing them, and I have never heard of it happening. I think someone asked this last week as well. And the thing is, like, my solar panels are screwed into my vehicle. Like, you would have, it would be very difficult. You could have a vehicle in the city or in the middle of nowhere, unscrew. Like, it would be very difficult to do.
I agree. And they're not that valuable, really. I don't think solar panels are that's not like the most expensive thing. I think solar panels are really not that much. So it's like for somebody to climb onto the roof of your van and start deconstructing your panels, I think they should find something more valuable to steal because they're not going to come up for that.
Also, like, it's not, mine are like, they're screws, but they're also like covered in Dicor as well. Like, so you just get to the screw. So good luck.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Right.
Honestly.
It wouldn't be a good idea. Like, because then, like, literally, you could just like drive away, and then they're gonna die, and it's like not your fault.
Yeah.
Mine are pretty secure too. They're not like, I don't think they're, well, they may actually be screwed in on the sides, but I think they're screwed in. And then mine are nice because like if you just look at my van from the side, you wouldn't even know that there was solar panels up there. So it's like, I think that fights that a little bit as well.
Are they the thin ones, or are they
they're really thin, and yeah, they're just like flat on the roof, so you can't see them. It's like I went super stealth with everything. I'm like, no, I don't want anybody to know. And I'm glad because it's just the peace of mind is amazing.
Besides, so you were saying how your one friend had a van that was not stealth. Mm-hmm. What made it not?
Well, she had like a traditional camper, it's probably like a late 90s, early 2000s Chevy van, where it's got like the stripes on it and it just looks like, kind of like a festive, like vacation-y type vehicle from that, vintage-y kind of feel, so it's like, completely obvious. Like you got like the little propane thing sticking out on the side and things like that. So it's like, it wasn't built in the way to be stealth. It was built in a way to just be a cool little weekend warrior thing.
What are things that you see on other people's vans that make them less stealth?
A lot of things, I mean, like, I don't want to pick on you, but your van is maroon. It's really pretty, but I don't think construction workers usually have a maroon van.
No.
So I think you got to go white. You don't want to get windows. And it's like, obviously, I get it. It's like having a nice window is cool. But what I have is an enormous skylight. It's huge. So I wake up to natural lighting. And then what you'll realize is, hey, where's another big window in your van? The windshield, So if you're really like living in your van, the windshield is an enormous window, So that's plenty. And I think for the peace of mind that you're going to get, it's not worth it. Don't do it, in my opinion. Unless like you really don't care about being stealth, like you're planning to live like on a lot or somewhere, like more like just off grid where you don't care. But if you're planning to live like downtown at times, don't do it. Don't get windows, because I think windows also give police another thing to like look into, and it's like if you don't have windows, they're not going to do that and then, I think that also then translates into like, well, this guy doesn't have any windows, his van's a little beat up. Like my van has like some dents on it, and so I think, it just goes over the head. And I think just to keep going on your question too, talking about solar panels, solar, I see a lot of people do solar panels where like they have a gap. So it's like, here's the roof of your van, and then here are your solar panels. So they're like sticking up. So then at that point, it's like, okay, why does this van have solar panels on it? Well, probably because somebody is living in there, or even if like you have like an enormous, like old school air conditioning. I have a Dometic RTX 2000. That thing kicks butt. Oh my God. Like it can cool me down, and it's 12 volt. So it doesn't even really use very much power. I can run that thing through the night, and I wake up cold if I'm like in Florida, even in the summer, in that thing. And it's low. It's not like a big one. It's like stays kind of low. It's like a little bit higher than my Max fan. So with that thing and the Max fan and keeping it all white, I think that enables it to be more stealth. So yeah, I mean, I'd say windows, solar panels that are raised, big air conditionings, maroon vans. Sorry, Tor.
The problem for me isn't stealth necessarily. It's not like I haven't had a problem as far as like police are blending in. Like I think at night it blends in better because it's like the color of like darkness and whatnot.
Yeah,
My
the
problem
color of darkness. Sounds like funny.
who have red vans is very low. So after like my van tour was really popular on YouTube, people were commenting like, "Oh, now I know to look for a red van," and like, and I was like, and it's because it's so, because like the solar panels on a white van, it could be any van lifer. Like I was in a very specific spot with a red van. It was like people were like, "I'm gonna go to this city and look for her now," and it was just like,
yeah, yikes. Ugh,
That's my problem. Is it's because it's red and people don't really have maroon. Like I know people who have pink inside like interiors to their vans, and I do people who have red exteriors to their vans.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I mean, yeah, and it's like what, it's like I'm not gonna pretend like it doesn't look cool, like people make fun of me, like my friends make fun of me. They're like, yeah, you have a kidnapper van. I'm like, you can say whatever the hell you want, because when I live in here full time, my quality of life is amazingly better than most because of this reason, because it looks like a construction vehicle, and it's like, I get it, like my first van had some cool windows on the side, and it was nice, you can like wake up and have like a little window by your head, but it's just not worth it. The peace of mind that you're losing, like there's nothing more important than being able to just be wherever you want and not having to really even think about like, hey, I wonder if people are going to care that I'm here, or if people are going to bother me, or cops are going to bother me, because like it's night and day. Like I have friends that, I've hung out with and stayed with at different times in their vans. People bother them throughout the week. I go for over a year without anybody bothering me. It's like a couple little things, to be diligent with. But if you can be diligent with these things and really just be like, you know what, I'm just going to really go for the stealth thing all out, go stealth, then I think it's just so worth it. It's just, it's your life is going to be so much more casual, you know, and you're going to appreciate it, you know, I think looking back more than having an extra window or having, you know, your solar panels raised if that's cheaper or something, you know, or whatever.
Someone asked, I have a friend who was interested in van life. Is it the right way to think?
What does that mean?
It's
What do you mean by that? Can you elaborate on that question?
the what?
I need them to elaborate on that question.
Gotcha.
Unless you get it. What
I
do
think
you think they meant?
more of like, do you think it's a good life choice? I think it was kind of asking.
Oh, yeah. I mean, well, it depends. I think everybody's situation's different. I don't think my parents, like, I'm in their beautiful house right now and they're like in their 60s. I don't think they would really want to live in a van, you know? But like for me, it's literally been the thing that's made my life work. What do you think, Tor?
I would agree. It's definitely different for every person, but
Yeah.
like if they have an interest and they are putting that forward, I think I've experienced a lot of people being like, "You're doing what?" or like being negative about it.
Yeah, I saw your homeless video. People picking on you, calling you homeless.
Oh, all the time. It's just, and I mean, social media is one thing. I mean, it's been really bad the last 3 months. Like social media people like
People
bashing me.
pick on you more than they pick on me, and I don't know why that is. It's kind of like sad. Like I see it. Like I don't have a good reason for that. Why do people pick on you? What the hell?
Bad. I like you earlier when you were like, "Oh, I saw someone comment." I was sure you were gonna say a negative comment. I was so beyond sure. I get so many. Actually, even on these lives, in like the first 3 or 4 lives, like we would sit here and like the comments would be like really nasty to me, or they would be like vulgar to me, and
Why?
I would.
Like that's a shame. I don't understand. Because I think you're so cool for being like a girl doing van life. Because that's just like freaking brave. Like to me, it's like, dude, that's freaking. She's badass.
I think
There's somebody else that said something here. Wait, what did they say? Somebody said, doesn't having your van get moisture from your night breath get annoying? That's a funny question. I don't know. I mean, I stay in California where it's super dry, but I also am from Orlando and I've lived in Key West for a long time where it is moist. I have a dehumidifier and I will run my dehumidifier like forever. It's a little cute, tiny one, and I'll just run that thing forever if it's really humid. And also my air conditionings, usually if they're nice, they double as a dehumidifier as well.
I didn't. So when building up my van, there were a few corners that I cut.
Hmm.
Like money wise, like for example, my sink is like a $7 sink. But one place that I cut that I massively regret is when building out my bed. I did really like large pieces underneath. I'm forgetting the word right now. And
Large
I did
pieces
not
underneath what?
underneath the mattress,
Oh, okay.
and I didn't get any like mold protector or anything like that.
Mm.
And I of course got mold
Oh,
because I'm living in Vermont in winter. Like
yeah.
obviously, and it was one of those things that I was like, not a big
Wow.
deal. Like I'll just, big deal. Absolutely get mold protectors for your bed in your van because moisture absolutely is a problem.
I have a
Like no,
solution. So this is that is something else that I thought about too, and I don't think that my van life builder is in here, but it's definitely probably like a mutual idea. But my installation, I went with sheep's wool, so I have like heavy duty sheep's wool all throughout my walls. Sheep's wool is naturally moisture wicking forever. I don't know how that works, but I actually had a leak in my van for a while, and I noticed it. It did work, like because I would kind of like just dry out the leak or whatever, and then I would come back like a couple hours later and it was like it was moist when that happened, but then when I came back like an hour or two later it was like the moisture was gone, and I've never had an issue with mold. So I think, yeah, another solution for moisture and humidity, go with sheep's wool. It's not going to be the best insulation ever as far as like keeping heat or cold in, but it works pretty damn good if you have a decent climate control setup. Like I have a whatever, a heater, and I have a air conditioning. And then with the combination of that and then having like a ton of sheep's wool throughout all my walls, that's never been a problem for me. I've never had any mold.
yeah, I also have sheep's wool in my walls.
Oh, really?
Yeah, for my next build as well. It's just under the bed that I'm having the
Hmm.
problem with. But I that's part of why I chose sheep's
Under
wool. I chose
the bed. What if you got a what if like I also have a vinyl mattress cover
Mm.
over my entire mattress. So it's like, it's got like nice cloth above it, but underneath it it has like plastic. So no moisture can get in my mattress.
Yeah.
And tomorrow, they're cheap. Go to Walmart.
You assume when I say I am broke, people are like, you're a trust fund kid. Like, or someone was like commenting on, I think someone was like saying something about like, me getting my money from my parents or whatever. And I'm just like, I just laugh at that. I'm like, really? Like, I wish.
I make it into a joke. I'll be like, look, I know I look rich, but actually I'm just a regular guy,
Really. I think because my van is pink and I like don't normally like I don't like dress down often. I think people just are
Yeah,
like,
you
oh, so
always look fancy in your videos. I like am barely wearing a shirt.
it's just how I dress. Like I have gone hiking and like skirts and just like I mean I grew up doing pageants. What do you
Yeah,
expect from
so
me?
like,
Like
what the hell? I mean, that's duh. Like, obviously you're a pretty girl. Like, of course you're gonna look pretty. Like, duh. Like, what do you think?
I
Like,
think
do they want you to just look ugly and be ratty and like rags? Like, have some stains on your stuff? Like, you can't win.
I'm wearing pants right now. We're getting
She's
somewhere.
wearing pants, everybody. Come on, give her a break.
Go through my videos. Like you'll not see me wearing pants very often. Like, because I found that the girlier I look in my videos, the more I get people saying like either that I don't know what I'm talking about or like things like that.
What?
Videos.
Don't know what you're
People
talking about. Like, in what way?
like people just being like someone was like cap or whatever. Like I didn't know what I was talking about or being like I made that maintenance video of me working on my van doing oil changes and I also like made a book for Project Vanlife and I got a lot of mean comments of being like you don't know what you're talking about whatever because I'm wearing a pink sweater with a giant heart on it and a freaking skirt.
Okay.
And I was like, I think if I would have, until like the last video I did for maintenance, I wore this shirt with a t-shirt over it that was like the portal to the cat dimension, looked like evil, and like a pair of jeans. And I got less comments, and I was like, that's how it goes. That's how it goes.
You can't win, can you?
No, that's why I wear what I want anyway.
Yeah, you just do what you want at that point and you just move forward because somebody's going to be upset with something, it seems like, at any level. And I mean, I don't know. I'm weird with it, I think. Like even just throughout music and like whatever I do, I kind of enjoy when people hate on me and say like funny comments because I'm like, what do you mean? Like, what's going on? Like, why do you feel that way? And I'll like get like deep into it and I'm like, are you okay? Do you need a hug? And eventually, like, I'll sometimes find people are like depressed and they're like going through something, and that's why they usually are like spewing at you. Are you full-time van lifer? Me and Tor are both full-time van lifers. Even though we're not in the van at this second, we've been in the van. We've paid our dues.
For years.
Somebody commented here. I saw you already wrote that comment, so I want to respond to it now. I am 25 working in Dubai. Ooh, cool. I have a dream to start van life. I'm a civil engineer. Wow, you're smart. I wanted to start van life. Please guide me. Well, you need to talk to Tori because she's the one with all the guides here. I don't have a guide. What I would tell you is just freaking wing it, and I bet you'll figure it out as you go. But if you don't want to wing it, if you don't want to make mistakes and figure it out, look at Tori's guides because she's got a bunch of guides on the Project Van Life page, and I think even on your page too, right?
Yeah, I do definitely a lot of different instructionals because Project Van Life has this step-by-step. I mean, every single. Like,
come on, you guys did the work already.
The what?
You guys did the work already.
Yeah, so every single piece of work, everything you can possibly think of. There's a forum so you can ask questions. There's so many different pieces that they have in there. Like even buying your van, they have a tool that will help you pick out your exact van based on what you need.
Amazing.
So basically, like what I do now is I talk about those different things in videos on the channel and like answer those specific questions. But the thing at the end of the day is, like, you are completely right. Like you could absolutely wing it. Like there is no law to how you do life. So if you can afford a van, just get a van right now. If in like 4 months you can afford, like a mattress for it, some insulation in the walls, then go there. Like there is no timeline, rules. Everyone will tell you there's rules. They'll call you a fake van lifer not being in a van for 5 minutes, but there's no rules.
I get it, because it feels like that, like before you do it, it feels like there's got to be a right and wrong way to do it, but there's not.
No.
Somebody else commented another question here.
Someone asked.
I am a disabled veteran. If I move into my van, would I be considered a homeless veteran? Well, I mean, if you live in your van and your van is built out like a home, then you have a home. So, like, how are you homeless? This is an argument I don't know if you remember, I got in an argument with somebody on the Van Life page about this. It might have been on your post, because I was like, well, if your van is built out to be a home, then you have a home. So you're not homeless. Your home is just, you have a mobile home. That's better. It's not, what does that mean? Like, to have a stable home versus a home with wheels on it that's tinier, it's still a home. And even if it meant you were homeless, who freaking cares? Like, let people say whatever they want. Like, it's not going to change your day to day. Whoever it was that said that. Hi,
Yeah.
Jack. I saw Jack is in here. Where do you get mail ship packages? Ugh, that's a tough one. I mean, honestly, I don't. I try to use like an Amazon locker whenever I need something like from Amazon desperately, or I try to make friends with people in whatever area, and you ship it to a trustworthy friend that you made. How do you get a permanent address for the bank? Honestly, if you look at my license, it just says my parents' address.
Same.
So that's not fair if you don't have parents with the house. But if you have parents with a house or a friend that doesn't care for you to pretend that you live at their house, just do that. That's what I would say for that question.
Do you have any advice for searching for a vehicle?
Do I?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I spent years researching what's the best van life vehicle. In my opinion, I mean, it depends on what you need, like, because the best van life vehicle, in my opinion, is the TN1 Sprinter. And that's what most people would say, just as far as like the engine, it's going to go the longest. I was saying earlier in here, like, those engines are regarded to be able to go up to like 1,000,000 miles if they're well maintained. So that's like literally like good luck ever driving 1,000,000 miles in your life. It's like if you build something into that, you're going to be good to go. And it's funny because that van that I had was a TN1 and it got totaled, quote unquote. But after the cops left and everybody left, I drove away because the van still didn't even have a check engine light on after it was totaled. So like the TN1 Sprinter, that thing is a freaking tank, you know? And then so after I had that one, what my thought was, you know what, the TN1, they only made those in America, they only made those from 2002, 3 to 2006. So if you're going to get a TN1, good luck finding one that's not like super old and crusty. Mine was a little old and crusty. It took some TLC to clean it up, but I still loved it. But then after that, I went for the van that I have now, which is the ProMaster Eco Diesel version, which kind of is based on that same engine in the TN1. It's not the same. It's actually, in my opinion, it's almost a little better because the TN1 is a 5-cylinder turbo. Mine is a 4-cylinder turbo, so I actually get better gas mileage than the TN1, and it's a little bit newer. So like my TN1 was like a 2003, 4, something like that. Pretty old, This one I have is a 2014, so it's actually pretty nice. I got like a backup camera and stuff like built into it naturally and all that jazz. So in my opinion, the best van to get to van life, it's kind of a rare van, but you want the ProMaster Eco Diesel version. In my opinion, that one is hands down the best van. It's going to go, typically I see people run those like even on Craigslist over like 500,000 miles and they're still kicking ass. So that's not typical of a gas engine, but they're hard to find. And if it breaks, thankfully, mine, knock on wood, I've never had a problem. Not one check engine light in my van since I bought it. I think I bought it with 180,000 miles. I have like 225,000 now. Not one issue. And I've been in an accident and it's still like the same thing. It's just, I got the damage and luckily it wasn't my fault and I got all that fixed. But the best van in my opinion is the ProMaster Eco Diesel version. But like I said, hard to find. And I would say Tor's van is a close second. And in a way, you could say that yours is better because it's cheaper. And if your engine breaks, it's way cheaper to fix it because your engine, I think, is pretty much the same thing as like a Dodge Ram engine, gas version. And so like if you're in America, that's like one of the most common engines there are. So, if you're going to go get like some maintenance done, it's going to be cheap. As opposed to my van, if something breaks, like my glow plugs or something in my van, it's going to be like thousands of dollars. But, I have actually, that's not true. There was one issue. My DEF tank, I don't know if you know DEF, it's like diesel emissions fluid. There's no reason for you to know that because you don't have diesel. So the diesel emissions, DEF, that is something that, in my opinion, is kind of stupid, but it's like a regulation for the government, and it's supposed to help the environment. Does it? I hope so because it's annoying. But mine broke. My DEF did break. And I remember I brought it to the dealership because I couldn't even find anyone that like wanted to look at it. And the dealership told me, yeah, it's going to be about $4,000 to fix that DEF. And I'm like, it's one sensor. Like the sensor's broken. Like how is it going to be $4,000 to fix the sensor? And they're like, well, the way it's built, the sensor's built into the tank. So we have to take the entire tank out and replace the entire tank because this one little sensor's broken. And I'm like, all right, well, see you later. I'm not going to pay you guys $4,000. I'm going to figure this out. So what I did is I just scoured the internet, as you probably would have done. And I found some people in my area that off of Craigslist that, claimed to be able to fix diesel engines. They had good reviews. And I bought a DEF tank off of a junkyard in like Oregon, actually. And I got it for $400. And they replaced the tank for like $100. So like it was like a $500 repair as opposed to like $4,000, which is what they wanted to charge me. So you got to be a little crafty. But then, it still brings me back to thinking that, if you're willing to be creative and look around, I still would say the EcoDiesel one's the best because that's the only issue I've ever had with that van. And it was like a $500 repair, not really that big of a deal,
Right now, almost something similar where they want to, well, I have to replace my ambient air temperature sensor in my ProMaster. And in order to replace it at like a repair shop, they won't replace just the sensor, they'll replace the entire side view mirror.
God.
And, are you kidding me? So I Googled it and it's a $15 piece off Amazon. And I can do it myself. I just have to screw in a hole a little bit bigger because like the piece that you buy is a little bit larger. And I'm like, that might take me 5 hours, but it won't cost me hundreds of dollars.
Yeah. So if you got time, and that's the beauty of having a van, like living in van life is you got time, at that point.
Time to earn the spend for them to fix it. So, I mean, you got time,
right.
like.
I'm looking, we're missing a lot of questions here. Do people, use Elon Musk's Skynet, or is it better different Wi-Fi? I don't know if that's really like available yet. I don't think that's done. Which country is more curious about van life? That's an interesting question. I don't know what you mean by that. Curious about it? Like in what way?
Where do you think it's most popular? What do you think?
Popular? I mean, I don't know. Probably America, I would think, right? But like not all of America. Like where you're at, nobody does van life but you.
Literally.
You're like the only van lifer in that state. It's tough to do van life where you're doing. You're a true, in my opinion, you're a true van lifer for being over there. Somebody said ProMaster EcoDiesel version. EcoDiesel. Yes, Mountain Pass. That's correct. EcoDiesel. And then there's another question we missed in here. I am a solo female build will be for my needs. Am young-minded and young at heart, but live full-time and just want to live van life now and party, all caps, but now do so with the wisdom of my age. LOL. You better party it up in that van life. But look at Tori's tips for how to not get kidnapped or anything, because she's got tools to keep you safe. As a solo van life female, I would be careful. Just have your acuity and don't be in somewhere where you shouldn't be. I don't know, like there's areas of the country that like you might not want to be in, like South Chicago, in the middle of the night doing van life as a solo female, or even myself.
I was gonna say, like, do you?
Zealand or are very into vans. Wow. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm not a true van life cultured person because I just don't know. I live kind of in a vacuum of I know about music and that's about it. I feel like I'm like barely even like a true van lifer because it's like I remember like when I got my van or even before I was thinking like, wow, I'm gonna be like Tori before I knew who you were. Like I followed that one girl that you know back in the day, Sydney,
Oh,
Divine on the
yes.
Road.
Yeah, it took me a minute to not hear her by Divine on the Road. It took me a minute to like click. But yeah.
She's cool. Yeah, so she inspired me a lot. But sorry, somebody said this guy high or what? I wish. No, I'm at my parents' house. So I don't want to be that way around my parents. They would judge me. Thank you, or I assure you I will be using that wisdom of life even in a van. Yeah, of course. Keep the questions going, guys. Do you play music or write? Are you talking to me or Tori?
I assume you.
I do both of those things, yes. And I have music. I haven't done any shameless self-promo yet. You could find me on all streaming platforms under my name, David Kahn. And check it out. I'm on YouTube. I got millions of views. Spotify, we're just kind of starting out. But I got music on all the platforms under my name here, David Kahn. And thank you for asking.
That noise, though. That was the sound effect.
The DJ Khaled. DJ Khaled.
Spot on.
What else? Tora, I feel like you have more questions that you're holding out on.
I mean, I always write questions beforehand, but like if they come up naturally, I don't know if I'll be like, okay, let's just switch direction setting.
Right.
But I saw someone asked earlier, like they asked, what was your driving force in getting involved in van life? Like, was it minimalism? Was it you like to travel?
All of the above. All of the above. I mean, for me specifically, it was literally a matter of necessity because I was going to school for music and I did have a scholarship for the first school I went to music, but the second school I went to actually in Boston, wearing the sweatshirt. I don't know if you guys represent Berkeley, still in debt from them. So after I left Berkeley, I went on that tour and then I took all the money I made on that tour and I just put it into that first van. And then that one got totaled. And then I was, again, living on couches with my friends for a while, just saving up, working full time. So yeah, for me, living in a van was kind of like more out of necessity, but I didn't want to rush into something that like I didn't love. And I had enough friends that offered me actually surprisingly to live on their couches for a while. You know, a few of my good friends like invited me, even since I've been in LA. Oh, this one guy, a friend of mine who like sings for like Christina Aguilera and like Nick Jonas, asked me to like move in with them. And I was like, I don't need to live with you, but like, thank you. And like, I don't know, like, I guess I'm down. So like, I just hung out with him for like a month and a half. And yeah, but no, for me, I definitely moved into a van kind of out of necessity. You know, to be a musician and doing that full time, it's pretty difficult to be sustainable and not need to like work another job these days. So to live in a van and do that, it's actually surprisingly easy because you don't have that many bills. So yeah, for me, that's why I did it. How about you, Tori?
I moved a lot and I kept paying the fees to end my rent early.
Mm-hmm. Oh gosh.
Traveling, and I like getting weird jobs for short amount of time.
Right.
And I had done it by accident going across America. I was living in my car for a while, just traveling, and I loved it.
Car?
Just a Honda Accord, just a normal.
Wow. How did you sleep in that?
So I was moving to California, so I had everything that I owned in my car with me. So my seat was upright and I was legit sleeping. Like I didn't have window covers or anything. So I would just kind of like hunch down into the seat when I like was in city places and then just like sit up straight. Like, and when I was like in the middle of nowhere, I loved it, but I also was like, I have to do this better next time. And that's how I got into van life.
You're savage. That's impressive that you did that. I had a Nissan Versa and I remember I would put my seats down and I had like an air mattress. I definitely stayed in downtown Chicago and stuff like that a couple times, but I would not have done that full time. That seems like that would have been too difficult. So, I mean, I'm impressed by, you just seem like savage, Tori. Like making it on your own, no matter what.
I know we have a bunch of questions that came in.
One, you are so young, so not sure you can guide in this, but what is the best way to get rid of tons of stuff? Yikes.
I have a whole closet at my parents' house that I keep things in, so I feel like I cheat on
Oh,
that.
same. No, I'm at my parents' house right now, and there's like boxes of my stuff in here. But I don't know. I that's never really been a problem for me. I've always kind of been like a minimalist. Like I don't like stuff.
Mm.
That's just me. I don't have good. You probably have better advice for that.
I am not a minimalist. I have like no wait, I have 15 Pokemon planters in my van right now.
Got me beat.
So, what I find is that when I first moved into my van, I had way more stuff than I needed, and then as you go on, you learn and you take things out.
Right.
So, you start van life, and are good at pulling things out. That's kind of okay. Drive around for a while, and then if you do have somewhere to put that stuff, that's really nice. If you don't, you're just going to pick things to get rid of. You're going to learn what you want as time goes on, and you're not using things. Like I have a beautiful bookshelf, and I thought I would be reading every day, but I'm working every day, and that's just my sad reality. So like I'm not reading, so I'm like I took all of my books out last week because I'm not reading them. They're pretty, but they're wasted. So
I feel that. I feel that. It's definitely one of those things where it's like, I don't think there's a way. You're not going to, like, unfortunately, you're most likely not going to get the perfect build the first time. You kind of got to just try and guess what you think you need the best. Like, take a look at your life and, like, what matters to you the most, and then try to just, like, cut everything out to the point you're like, all right, I care about this. Like, somebody in here just asked, did you see the van with a recording studio built in? Are you talking about my van? Because I have a recording studio built into my van.
There's actually a lot of them.
Yeah.
A lot of people have.
No, it's definitely a thing. Like I'm not the only person doing it for sure. You could like probably hashtag music van life person, and I bet some people will come up. But yeah. So no, just to finish that question, I mean, I think unfortunately it's not that big of a deal, but you just got to do it, and you try your best to just really think deeply about what you care about the most, and like what do you actually do in your day to day that matters to you, and what doesn't, that you can cut out. And then like you said, maybe like store some things in some places, but then like as you live it, you'll see like, hey, like I thought this mattered to me a lot, but actually I'm totally cool with taking a shower at the gym all the time. I didn't really need like an enormous beautiful tile shower in my van or something.
Yeah, I found that because I had been living in my car for so long, and even just taking short road trips when I wasn't living in the car at that point, I learned what I didn't need, because at that point I was so minimalistic. I was using a cooler, I was showering at like Planet Fitness. I wasn't even paying for that. I was just getting 1 week trials at different places as I was going around.
Impressive.
So
I love it.
what I could do on absolute minimalism, and then I was like, what things do I not feel comfortable without? And then I built my van around how that trip went. And so I always say, if someone's starting van life, start out trying it in your car, whatever you have now. Last week I was talking to Shane Dennis, and he made a really great point, that he recommends the same thing, and people will be like, oh, I don't want to do that, I don't want to try it out in my car. And he's like, if you're not comfortable doing that, you're not going to be comfortable going in your van. So you have to be comfortable with this absolute minimalism, with these rough things, because it's going to be rough.
Yeah,
it looks pretty, but at the end of the day, finding a parking spot and feeling safe somewhere, that's a pretty scary thing at the end of the day. So trying it and seeing if you're comfortable, seeing what works for you, that way you're not building out a whole van and then being like, actually I hate this.
Yeah, right. Or even another stepping stone that could be in between that. I know out here in California, I see people do this all the time now. You'll see like, Adventure Across America, and it's like some big van you can like rent. So then like there's a lot of companies now that, like now that the van life thing is really kind of exploding again, it's like a booming industry. So look into, like if you're looking like what do I need? Try to rent a van, rent a van for like a week, and then go see how that feels, and see how like that build feels for you. If the build feels good, or like, you'll probably immediately within like a couple days feel like, man, I wish I had this, or like, honestly, I didn't really need that microwave or whatever, And it's like, or I wish the fridge was a little bit bigger, or like, honestly, I don't really need a fridge because I'm just finding myself going out to eat more now or whatever, you know, like you really got, like, I agree with you. You have to kind of live in it. But if you don't want to live in your car first, try maybe renting one or something, because I think there are enough resources now to do that.
Yeah. Lots of companies. Actually, Project Vanlife, you go to their website, has like a whole thing you can just rent right off of like their website and go through the people. So
Damn.
Literally anything you can imagine, they have figured out there.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
See what else we got here. I see you
Someone,
have a question. How much would it cost to get diesel from across the East Coast to the West Coast? Well, what are you driving, Mike? Because that would depend. If you're driving like a diesel school bus, you're still not going to get very good gas mileage. But if you're in what I'm in, the Eco Diesel ProMaster, I'm pushing like 35 like miles per gallon on the highway. So that would probably cost me from like East Coast to West Coast. I would guess it would probably cost me about 500, maybe $600 these days, you know, somewhere around there. Not crazy, really not that bad. It's like comparable to a ticket. I think my ticket to get here was like $450, and that was like a killer deal.
yeah.
Craigslist and Facebook marketplaces are great places to sell things. Very true, Megan. Thank you for adding that. Did you see any questions we missed, Tori?
There was one a while ago about what are your favorite van life apps or apps that you use to help you?
iOverlander, hands down. That's like the only one I use.
Sponsoring it, like
I know,
or you just
right? Yeah, I'm not even paid from them. They don't. It's a free app.
yeah, no, I just I don't actually use iOverlander. I just always use Allstays and just do street parking.
Okay.
I think I used it once when I was in New York because New York is very hard to find parking.
I bet. Yeah, I wouldn't even want to try it there. It seems so hard.
Van life in New York, I loved it so much, and it was like, so I grew up, you know, where we're from, and we were so close to New York that I went there a lot, and I always wanted to live there. But living there it's expensive for rent. Everything that you're doing is usually thought to be expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Living there in my van, there were so many different free events. I went kayaking on the Hudson for free. I went
Wow.
and saw free. I saw the Black Eyed Peas front row for free, and then the day before that, I saw DNCE with Joe Jonas for free.
With JoJo?
Like Joe Jonas.
Oh, okay.
Like I love the Jonas Brothers.
I was telling you, my friend Luke sings for Nick, right?
Nick is my favorite.
That was the guy. I stayed with him for a month and a half, like 2 months ago. He sang for Nick Jonas on a couple tours.
But
amazing. He doesn't live in a van. He lives in LA and pays like $2+ grand and has a full-time job. I tell him that you should move into a van because then you could just sing and you'd probably be less stressed out. He like drinks all the time now. I'm like, you would be way less stressed out if you didn't have to pay all this money like all the time.
I think it's just really hard for some people. Like it's just the lifestyle is definitely for specific people, but also
like bougie people don't want to do it. I don't think.
It's like there is a type of bougie person who wants to do it though. Like there is that niche.
Yeah, because you know, like I'm thinking of like that movie. What is it? Goofy movie where like the guy pulled up and he had like the enormous RV with like the bowling alley and the swimming pool. It's like, okay, well, I mean, you could spend like 200 G's and get like a brand new Sprinter with like the most incredible, like what Jared Tucci has, like the one guy with like radiant heat flooring. Like you walk around barefoot and it's like the floor is just nice and cozy. Like, you know, like I don't need that, you know, but like if you have the money, if you got the flow, like live your life, you know?
Yeah.
Somebody said Tori would survive the zombie apocalypse. Seconded, Maverick.
The what?
Somebody said that you would survive the zombie apocalypse. I seconded it.
You know, I would not survive a zombie apocalypse.
I think you would. You got self-defense. You could go post up in the woods. You'd be fine.
I think I wouldn't want to, and that's why I wouldn't survive.
I wouldn't want to either, no. But I bet you'd get by.
I might be able to, but I like.
We got good questions here. Mountain paths. How about van life with very young kids? I've seen some cool setups. I've seen some people do some stuff where like they have like a van like mine, like I have a full size bed, but they'll have like this cool like hydraulic lift where they'll have another bed that just like raises up to the ceiling like with a button, and it'll come down, and like you could set it where it's like one bed's like halfway to the ceiling, so then your kids could be like there or here. Or I've seen people with a schoolie where like they have like little bunk beds built into the side, and then they have like a tiny like master bedroom for them. So like it definitely can be done. Look around on the internet. There's some really cool designs for people that live in their van with their kids, and it's not something that should deter you.
On January 8th, I'm interviewing, I believe, someone who has kids in their van. So if you
Nice.
talk to someone who has kids in their van, I believe Sunday, and I'm interviewing, and I don't remember their names.
There you go.
But they can answer probably all those questions if you're interested in that.
Stay tuned, you guys. We got the answers coming for you. Me and Tori don't have kids, so did that. It was amazing.
How do you support van life? Like, how do you support financially? I'm assuming.
Me?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I play music full time. That's the only thing I do.
In October, I had 5 jobs.
I think I'm super lucky because it's like, I don't know. But then like maybe luck is not the right word, because I was so aggressive with the way I approached music, where like when I'm about 10 years ago, I was like, I'm going to do music and that's it. And then like it was not good for like 5 years. And for the first 5-ish years, I definitely was like more than full time working Uber, and I had a Prius, and just save. And then now I have like some really good agents that, like the gig I just played in San Francisco, I made like 4 figures to sing for like 4 hours. It's like, and it's like that wasn't always the case. I was like out in the street for many years before that happened, but it goes back to what I was saying about, hey, you just start doing it, and if you're following like something that you love, I think you're just going to get good at it, whatever it is, and then it'll make more sense as you go down the road. But don't be too scared where it's like you need all the answers to just take a step. Like my dad says, like when I went to this school, I remember thinking like, but it's like 70+ K a year. Like, how am I going to afford doing that for 4 years? There's no reason I should go do that because I'm not going to finish. And my dad's like, no, just like go and like you'll figure it out. Maybe you'll get some scholarships there. Maybe you'll drop out and like you get into like a crazy situation. And that's exactly what happened. I dropped out to go like on a European arena tour, like after about 1.5 years. And that was perfect because now like I have great network from, my time that I was there. And I didn't really need to get the degree and to just continue to be full time. So it's just like, it just goes with what I was saying. It's like, you're not going to have all the answers for a lot of things in life. You just like take a step and you're like, I don't know, I'm just going to try and see what happens. And it's like, you're going to be wrong probably a handful of times, but then you like take your wrongness and you like go back and you tweak it and you try again. And then at that point, it starts to work out. My nephew's here. What's up, Jay?
I feel like that's so true. If I look back at like what my plan was for my life when I graduated high school,
yeah,
and I went to college as well. I went to college for like 3 semesters. Hated it like passionately hated it.
Yeah, it's not for everybody.
A bunch of times, and I want to like straight up honest, like I lost myself completely, like who I was and what I wanted in college.
I feel it.
And I did the Disney college program, and I moved to Orlando, Florida, and I worked for Disney. And
what? When? Maybe I was there. What year?
2017, 2018.
I was there. Are you kidding me? I worked there in 2017.
So
that's crazy.
Yeah.
Dude, that's so funny. Maybe we like overlapped. I was at Disney Springs and like all that jazz. I worked at Planet Hollywood, Hard Rock Live, Hard Rock, whatever, the cafe, hotel, all that stuff in 2017. That's so funny, dude. Like you were around.
If you went to the parks, I worked at the roller coasters. So in 2017, I worked at Everest, and then I worked Rock and Roller Coaster after that, and then I worked Test Track for 3 days, and I didn't like it, and so I quit because I don't believe in doing a job that I don't like.
Yeah, me neither. No, never. I've done 2 things in my life. I've been a skateboarder and that was what I was trying to do professionally. And then I was a musician and singing. Just like, I'm very stubborn, and it's like I'm just like, in my mind it's like, no, it'll work. I don't know why, but it will. Give it some time. And it's like, I don't know why, it'll work. And I've always been like eventually right. It might take like 5, 6, 7 years, but if you set yourself up in a way where you can work at something for 5, 6, 7 years, it's so worth it when you don't give up and you push through it.
I want to say though, on a flip side of what you're saying, I think it's okay also, like, if it's not working out, to give up on something. I don't want to say give up.
You can sell it, and come back and try again like in a year or two.
Like, so actually right now, at this exact moment, America is in their top 5. They're going to crown Miss America very soon, according to my notification up on my screen. And in the beginning of 2022, that was my dream. That was my goal. That's what I was working like every single day. I was going to Planet Fitness, doing my talent in the back corner of the gym, doing it in the dressing room. Like, I was giving 110% for that, and I didn't go, and I didn't get it this year. And I still have 1 year left, but I've decided to move on from it, and that's okay. Like, if you have it, like, something that you're really passionate about, it's okay. Like, that's my dream since I was 5 years old. Like, that was like for me, what music is for you, what I thought it was going to be. And it's not, and it's like, I'm having a hard time being like every moment, just like moving on from it, especially this week when people are at Miss America, like doing what I thought, was my dream. But it's okay also to let that go, because I think as I'm letting it go, I'm finding things that are greater for me and that I'm better at, that I look back on and I'm like, if I had been able to let this go years ago, could I have found other facets of myself that I'm passionate about, that I, maybe excel at more? And it's just like, so I think there's two sides to that I'm learning. It's like, of course, for years I held on to that passion, like you're saying, like, just keep going at it. If you keep working, like, it can work out for you. But also, if it's not aligning with who you are anymore, it's also okay to move on from it.
Yeah, and that's, I could actually apply that to my life too. Maybe like I am kind of like coming off like leaving out things then, because it's like, why did I stop skateboarding? Because it was impossible to make a living. It was like really, really hard. And I think there are skateboarders out there that make a living, but it's like pretty tough. Like some of my friends that still skateboard, like in California, it's like they're all living in poverty, and it's just like, I'm a professional skateboarder, my name's on this skateboard. And it's like, I've been in that like realm, I guess, of like semi-professional. And it's like, what does that mean? It's like, okay, there's like 7 pairs of shoes that like show up at my house. Like, wow, this is neat, but I can't eat these shoes. Like, my landlord doesn't want them for my rent, So it's like, this is not working. And then I think that was kind of why I started getting into music. I was like, okay, I'm like, I was 22 at that time. And I was like, been doing this since I was 11. Like, it's been fun. My body's starting to hurt. And like, nobody wants to give me any money. And it's like, so at that point I was like, you know what, let me just try something else. And I started singing. And it's like funny, because now if I look back, like, I still have some people that are like, I remember when you skated and did this and that. But in reality, if I look at like my impact on the world with like what I'm doing with art, like my music has touched like exponentially way more people. And it's like, you would tell me like when I was like 17, like, like deep in the skating community, that was the only thing I did. Like, actually, in 10 years from now, you're going to be a full-time musician and you're not going to skateboard anymore. I would have thought like, you're crazy. No way, but like you said, I mean, it's like, you kind of like let life guide you, and you try, like, you try the things you want to do. And then as, like life goes on, you sort of evolve and you like adjust the path to find like where you fit perfectly. And like, I know like what you said, like you just were saying, like you did, like Miss American, like these pageants and things like that. But it's like, I don't know, dude, like you're a freaking, like, you're kind of like a Vanlife star now, So it's like, whatever, you're kind of making a bigger impact on the world with what you're doing. And it's like, you can kind of like, you don't really need anybody to do it. It's like, kind of like, in my opinion, it looks like what you're doing now is probably better than that, really. And you wouldn't even have known that back then,
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, because I see how a lot of things that I'm using from like things that I learned from pageantry, speaking
there you
public,
go. Right.
Things.
That's the beauty of it too. You take things from it.
Everything that you do, you take and you just kind of build on, which is why I think it's so important to just do different things.
Right.
Overall. But yeah, I think also something that van life itself has taught me really well is that you don't have to do things for money. It's kind of like, like now you can just skateboard just because you enjoy it, or just when you feel like there's like when there's no pressure, you can actually feel joy in things. And with
You're on
van
the money with that. Yeah.
of rent, and you lose the pressure of, you know, a lot of, because you're already going against society's viewpoints, you know, living in a van and whatnot, you can do that in so many more aspects of your life, and you can kind of branch off from what people expect from you. And people expect you to make money off of everything, especially things that you're good at or you're passionate about. They're like, oh, turn that into a job, make money off that somehow. And it's like, you don't have to. You can just
Yeah.
find joy.
You can have a hobby, you know? It's
Yeah, you don't have,
okay. It's great to have a hobby.
you can just enjoy it for yourself. Like, you're allowed to do that.
Yeah. That's a deep one, you know, and I completely agree with you because I think about this all the time. There was a master class I took at Berkeley where there's this guy who's like a jazz piano legend, and he has a book actually about this topic. It's like how to continue to get better at something without getting burnt out over it. Because for me, I remember like when I started skating when I was 11, I was like, wow, there's joy for me to like stand on a piece of wood with wheels and just like ride on it. But then like getting to a point where I was like making money and I was like, okay, I got to get footage. I got to get photos or I'm going to get kicked off this team. And like, then I like everything I'm doing doesn't matter. It's like I got to a point where I was like actually bitter with the whole thing. And that was really why I kind of got into music. I was like, you know, music feels just as good. And it's like, it feels so light. It feels like when I was a skateboarder at 11. And then now, like, I look back kind of like you said, like the pageantry and like in things even like you learn with van life, I can see how I kind of ruined my own passion for skateboarding once I started averaging in the money part of it. Whereas like this was just a activity that I loved and then it became a job and then I actually started to hate it. But then I apply all of those thoughts and like things I learned from that into music where now, you know, like I safeguard music in that way where it's funny because like I keep going back to my friend Luke, but that guy I was living with that like sings for those people, he said to me one time, and I'll never forget this, it was like a couple months ago, he's like, I see when you do music and like when you're, you know, singing, like there's a joy in you that like resonates and just emanates where I don't have that joy anymore. And it's like, I see why that is. Cause like, why? It's like I just said, he's working full time to pay for his life in LA. So it's like when I'm hanging out with him at his house and he comes home, I'm like, hey, welcome home. Like, want to sing? Want to do some karaoke? And he's like, no, I just want to like get drunk and like go to bed because he's tired, you know? And I'm like, wow, you know, and then like, you know, he, you know, confides in me, like, you know, I wish I had the joy that you still have for this. And like, why do I have joy for it now still and haven't lost it? Because I learned from my mistakes in skateboarding and my life is comfortable in a way where I don't have to work full time because I live in a van, that I can just do music and it always feels therapeutic and fun. I don't take any work that sounds like I wouldn't enjoy it. I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. And I can say no to stuff where I couldn't say no to anything in skateboarding, you know, because I was paying rent and trying just so hard to make something happen with it, you know? So it's like all of these things, yeah, like you said, like I've learned from van life and my mistakes with that, you know? So I don't know, it's fascinating kind of getting deep here.